Unless otherwise indicated, all the following scripture quotations are taken from the Holy Bible New Living Translation, with copyright by Tyndale Foundation, used by permission of Tyndale House Publishers, all rights reserved.
Hi, I'm P.S I. Welcome back to my channel, and this is a mini applause for you. Why do you get a mini applause? Because you are quite simply amazing, and because you deserve it, and because you made it through yesterday and today, and since I have faith that you're going to make it through to tomorrow, why don't you just hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be here when I post another video. Okay, so I'm getting better, but my voice is still a little bit iffy, but just bear with me, because today we are talking about 10 reasons why Disney misses the mark with a lot of their movies. Now we're going to focus specifically on the animated movies because I really love a lot of Disney animated movies, and I've noticed a common trend in a couple of them, and I wonder if you'll agree with me, and if you do, just sound off in the comments. If you disagree, also pop your opinions in the comments, and I would love to hear what you've got to say about this. So number one is implied racism, or like pseudo implied racism or segregation, right? Have you noticed that a lot of these Disney characters, especially in the animated movies, don't tend to end up with people either from the same race or from the same sort of social group? I noticed this, and I know that this is also a very racist thing to say, a very racist concept. So I'm not saying that I approve of it, but it was just something that I noticed. And I think that in this way, a lot of the time, Disney misses the mark. Like, think about, for example, Ariel. She is a mermaid, and she doesn't end up with a mermaid. She ends up with a land dweller. Pocahontas as well ends up with someone from an entirely different race and culture to her. Tiana from Princess and the Frog marries Prince Naveen, who is from a completely different country as well. And he actually has my favorite catchphrase, which is Aichi Danza. I love it so much. I just now found out while doing a little bit of research that it's completely made up. But anyway, I was like, yeah, dang, maybe I could have got my husband from Maldonia, but anyway, yeah. And Belle from Beauty and the Beast married a freaking person who was a human being turned into a beast-like animal, and then turned back into a human, but also is a prince. Yeah, and then like Jane from Tarzan, totally not from our social group. Kira from Atlantis as well, which is one of my favorite Disney movies. And like Cinderella marries a prince, those kind of things. And my concern is that the sort of segregation, taking the female character and putting their love interest in a completely different social group or racial group, sort of reinforces the narrative that the particular social group that they came from was not necessarily good enough for them to find a partner or find someone that understands them in. I thought this was problematic, right? Number two, effeminate males and females don't have a romantic interest, because that would be too progressive, right, Disney? Yeah, so like think Louisa. I was thinking, if Louisa is the oldest and Isabella is younger than her from Encanto, right? Shouldn't Isabella then be marrying Mariano? Or shouldn't that be a match being made there? But no, that would be too progressive, right? So I was thinking about this, and I think that, like, you know, Krong from The Emperor's New Groove, he's got lots of effeminate traits despite looking very masculine, and he doesn't really get a love interest in the story also. Yzma doesn't count. Even though they have like a husband and wife dynamic, right? Genie from Aladdin also has lots of effeminate traits, but then again, it just could be because he's theatrical. Turk from Tarzan, I had no idea that Turk was female. Sound off in the comments if you just discovered that right now as well. And She-Girl from Kim Possible, she's hyper masculine and very, very capable. I absolutely love her voice actress, Nicole Sullivan. She is top-notch voice actress, but these characters actually don't get love interest, and I'm like, why? Like, they are really, really good people, and they seem to have very solid characters, whether they are villain or like hero, or in a sense, and they just tend to not get like their own kind of love story in the Disney setting, or the main characters actually don't tend to be hyper effeminate or hyper masculine. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Okie dokie. Independent women. Number 3. Independent women must always have something wrong with them or something missing, and somehow they don't fit into their society by just being themselves. They need to overcome some huge obstacle or go through some huge breakthrough or freaking save the entire world in order to get acknowledged in the society where they are. This is really problematic thinking, I think. It makes the whole entire experience of an individual and a character so distant from the reality that most people face, and it makes reality seem like this is what it should be like. Meanwhile, people are fighting to be acknowledged, and even if they do sort of get acknowledgement, it's not the kind of acknowledgement that they deserve, that they are special and wonderful just as they are, that they don't need to have magical powers, that they don't need to push forward. And we do see a little bit of progression in Disney from like a lot of the later movies that have been coming out. We see, oh, it's okay to be non-magical, but at the end of Encanto, they made Mirabel magical, so they kind of undid all of that work, in a sense of like saying she's perfect just as she is. I would have argued that a more powerful message would have been to just leave her without powers entirely at all, because I would say you are perfect just as you are. You don't need anybody to make you special, and you don't have to match up to these other people's gifts in order to be noticed. We notice you. But unfortunately, she had to save the whole casita and eventually the whole town, in a sense, in order to be noticed, right? So there's a whole bunch of movies where we can see this in, like Elsa and Anna in both of the Frozen movies. Like Elsa just can't be feminine and confident. She has to be isolated and emo, right? She has to be distant and maybe going a little bit insane. Anna is also like completely out of touch with reality and hyper optimistic. Merida from Brave is supposed to be like unladylike by standing up for her rights, right? And then she comes across more of as like a barbarian and not just as a confident young woman. Mother Gothel from Tangled is arguably one of the only single parents that you see in a lot of animated movies or like in the animated sphere, but she's a villain and she's not a positive influence at all in the Disney sphere. And you can see the same thing with like the evil queen from Snow White as well. She was a single parent stepmother to Snow White, and for some reason she's the evil queen, right? Judy Hopps as well from Zootopia was a little bit racist or like prejudiced as well. Megara from Hercules, she's sassy and intelligent and beautiful, but also makes a deal with the devil. So it's like she can't just be a confident, successful woman. She has to be a confident, successful woman with a problem, with a serious flaw. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Then number 4, male characters have to do little or nothing to be painted in a favorable light. Come on, Disney. Come on. Like with Princess and the Frog, Naveen, one of my favorite characters, is a lazy bastard. He's lazy. And he doesn't actually do that much to change it. Like, there's another point that I'll talk about in a couple minutes. But this is the thing. Like, he's painted in a favorable light from the beginning of the story. The same with a whole bunch of these other characters. They don't actually, masculine characters or male characters, they don't actually have to have stability. They don't actually have to have good character. They're kind of just there, and they just exist for you to view them in a favorable light. They, like in Snow White, the prince, of whatever his name is, Prince, I guess, Sleeping Women, that guy, or dead looking women, to be honest with you. Yeah, he just comes in like at the end and like, whoop, I kissed her and saved the day. You know what I'm saying? So the male characters actually have to do extremely little to be viewed in a favorable light, but the female characters have to do so much more, have to go through so much progression and work so much harder just to be acknowledged and recognized. And I think that this is a huge oversight by Disney if they are not doing this intentionally. Okay, number 5. Women fall in love with the first man that they meet. We've heard this many times. And like, even if he has extremely worrying tendencies, even if he's got stalkerish behavior, think not Prince in the Frog, Sleeping Beauty. She's busy dancing alone in the forest. The strange-ass man comes up to her and starts singing with her and dancing, and this is hyper romantic. It's wonderful. It's not creepy at all that he's been listening to her long enough to know the song that she's been singing. Sing the song with her, dance with her, and then be like, yo, I love you. can I meet you again, marry me kind of thing going on. So yeah, it's so weird, right? Then number 6, they promote this idea that a woman's worth is tied to her accomplishments or relationships. It's so problematic that women in the sphere of Disney films can't just exist as confident and competent female characters. They have to have some sort of relationship or accomplishment in order to be viewed as very strong and very powerful, right? It's number 7. Sometimes they are overly obvious. Like Disney is sometimes very overly obvious, which can be super cringe. Think of like in Moana when Maui calls out Moana for singing. He says to her, "Oh, don't tell me you're gonna start singing." Meanwhile, just a couple minutes ago, your ass was singing like a full ballad there, going on like a full song about like you're welcome. And Moana just says, "The ocean chose me," and then he goes, "Oh, don't tell me you're gonna start singing." Bruh. It's cringe, okay? Disney, like, just stop. It's so cringy. And they do this as well in Encanto, where Mirabel finishes singing the song The Family Madrigal, right? And the neighbor comes in and he like says, "Here's a gift for you. I call it the not special basket because you don't have a gift and so you're not special." And it just made me sit in my seat and cringe like hardcore when I watched the movie, because it's like, why you do that? We get it. Dolores just said she did not get a gift. We understand what we are watching. Don't tell us. Show us. It's a movie. Show us. You don't have to tell us everything. So it's like, why you be like that though, Disney? You know? So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they did that for the kids who are watching the film, but I'm sure even kids picked up from the whole thing and all the Disney adverts and everything, and even all the interviews and all the promotional stuff and trailers on the net, that Mirabel doesn't have a gift. So you don't need to tell us again. We really get it. And like with Moana, continuously saying, "The ocean chose me." We understand. We get it. We're watching the movie. Right? Okay, number 8. The live action remakes suck. They are awful. And this happens, I think, for like 2 reasons. One is that they miss the whole point of what makes the first movie so special. And I think it's easy to do that. Maybe it's because they come from a more mature perspective or an adult perspective, whereas the audience were younger kids when we watched those films, or 10 years ago, blah, 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 blah. That's one of the reasons why they miss what makes this movie so special. Or maybe it's because the executives don't want to, like change things up a little bit too much. And that comes to the second point, which is a common problem with live action remakes of every genre. Whether it's like anime or, because I've seen this complaint from a lot of anime fans, right? When they remake like lots of kind of anime shows into a live action movie, is that there are 2 serious problems, and that's either they stick too much to with the source material, so you're essentially watching the same thing that you've seen before without any nuance to it. There's nothing new, there's nothing unique, or they deviate far too much from the original and cause like a division between the fans. So it's a lose-lose situation, in my opinion. You should just write a new story, because there are more stories to be told. You don't have to do the same thing over and over again. You don't have to. There are new things to do, Disney. Another thing is also that as a singer, the singing sucks. In like most of the live action remakes where there's any singing or vocals, the singing really does suck. It's like listening to robots try to make a musical of some sort. The vocals are lifeless, and that's because they put so much auto-tune on the vocals. It's not even funny. Who are these movies for? Your grandpa? Like, just let the singers have some voice in there. Let them have some life, man. Anyway, this really takes me off because I'm a singer. But yeah, seriously, I'm like, yeah, like, especially Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Holy heck, that was awful. It's like listening to a teapot whistle, and I was like, what are you doing? You could have just did this thing. Emma Watson is an incredibly talented individual. All the actors that you hire are incredibly talented individuals. Give them a shot to do their thing without your help. Surely you can afford to train them if you want them to do something different. But anyway, okie dokie. Number 9. Male characters' development tends to be based on love and not actual growth, right? Now you can think about characters like Prince Naveen, again from Princess and the Frog, where he doesn't actually acquire this natural taste for working hard and for trying to achieve the things that he wants to do with his life. He actually just falls in love with Tiana, and they're like, okay, now I'm just gonna jump on her dream, and this is good. The same happens with like Kristoff, who in Frozen 1 was just this guy who helps Anna, and then they fall in love, but it wasn't the main focus, which is really great. I thought that was very good of the movie to sort of delay the love story and focus on the love between the two sisters, which I really think was great, and it was kind of like unique at the time. We hadn't seen much like that kind of storyline from Disney, right? But the main problems for me come from the fact that by the second movie, instead of expanding on Kristoff's heritage and sort of making him a worthwhile partner for Anna, which I thought would have been a much better idea than the movie that they gave us, but that's another video. The thing for me was that Kristoff's entire story arc became, I'm gonna long after Anna while she's running off and doing something else. And I'm like, why? It's just wasted character development. And the same thing happens with like essentially every other male character that's a love interest in the movie. Take a look at, for example, Mariano in Disney's Encanto. There's nothing of substance to him. Nothing. We have no idea whether he's a worthy partner to either Isabella or to Dolores at all. All we know is that he loves a lot and wants 5 kids, and that's what we know. And we know he loves his mother. Girl, that's a problem. Run, Dolores. But the truth of the matter is that we don't know anything about him because they didn't give him an opportunity to grow or to express to express himself in that way at all for the character, right? And then again, like Flynn Rider also doesn't become a better person because he realizes crime is not good. He becomes a better person so that he can get with Rapunzel. Another thing is like Eric from The Little Mermaid wants to be with Ariel because he wants to marry her because she doesn't have a voice, or because he recognized her voice. And I don't get it. I don't get the attraction there. I don't get it at all. But the point is that the male characters don't actually have to have any growth. They don't have to grow at all. They don't have to change, and they don't have to overcome much in the way of like character development. That's all on the females to carry the whole show. But at the end of the day, as long as he shows up, ta-da, romance, end of story kind of thing. It's like, why? Okay, number 10. They rely on parental death and parental problems to make their stories impactful. People have been saying this for years now, but it's a serious problem, Disney. It's a big problem. You do not have to have a dysfunctional family or a grief, a tragedy, a death in every single movie. You don't have to do it. It doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to have problematic parental child, like dysfunctional relationships. That's not our life. It's not like the majority of families are like just dysfunctional. There are healthy families out there, and their stories can be interesting and impactful as well. I would argue that their stories could be perhaps more impactful because it's a struggle to be a healthy family. Sorry. Not very good for my voice, despite the fact that I'm a singer. It's a real struggle to be a healthy family, to be a healthy individual, to have good opinions and points of view, and allow people with dissenting voices to express themselves, especially when those voices come from your children and they're trying to express themselves or their likes, their dislikes, their sexuality, and you have conservative views or you don't have conservative views and they now have conservative views, or all of these kind of things. There's a lot of this stuff in the world already. So it would be really, really nice not to see it on the screen and be reminded of my problematic relationships with my mother or my father or my brothers and sisters and everybody else. I would like to see a movie that reflects characters that look like me without having the same problems as me. I would like these characters to be normal every now and again. And I think that that's okay. Sorry. Like Anna and Elsa, lost their parents. Tiana lost her dad. Mirabel lost her grandfather. Moana lost her grandmother. Snow White's parents both died before they could name her anything else, mind you. Aurora, who was also known as Briar Rose / Sleeping Beauty, her parents sent her to live in the forest with a bunch of pixies or fairies, whatever. So she was kind of abandoned. Mulan has to disobey her parents and betray them in order to save her father. Belle doesn't have a mother. Cinderella is an orphan. Hero from Big Hero 6 lost his brother Tadashi. And the bad guy, Robert Callahan, lost his daughter Abigail as well. So I get it. Disney has a thing for grief. I understand. But guys, you can switch it up every now and again. Let's do something different, okay? Let's try not to make problematic relationships. Let's try and create stories with healthy families, especially when it comes to minorities who already do not have enough representation in film and in media and aren't portrayed in a popular or favorable manner in different forms of media. Let's try and make this thing look healthy so that we cannot, we can't create a space where we say this is the reason why we don't watch these people, or this is the reason why we don't have these people in our films, is because they're problematic, because they have dysfunctional relationships. Let's just try and make it healthy, Now, closing thoughts. I know this video has been a long video. Actually, I had quite a few points that I thought. But I really do enjoy Disney movies. Despite maybe not seeming like it, I do enjoy them very, very much. I enjoy watching them. I enjoy the music. I sing the music all the freaking time. It's hard to get me to stop singing once a Disney song is in my head. I love it. It's very well written, very good lyrics as well. A lot of the stories are also well written, but they tend to follow the same kind of line, and it's kind of like the Disney formula, I guess. Some people have called it, I believe. But I think that there were some things that they could work on, right? Firstly, positive parental relationships. Like the Mitchells versus the Machines. It's not a Disney movie, I think it's a Netflix movie, but it was freaking brilliant. I absolutely love that movie. The relationship between the father and the daughter and the mother and the rest of the family was just such a healthy dynamic, despite the fact that they didn't always get along, despite the fact that they always they had lots of disagreements, and you could see areas in which there were expectations and the relationship was starting to fracture. You could really see the love coming in there. I highly suggest you watch The Mitchells versus the Machine. Very, very good movie. Also, there's robots, and it's really fun. I love it. Yeah, and actual character growth for both male and female characters would be a far away, right? And that character growth should be independent of romance. Romance should be as a result of a relationship growing, not a factor for a character making decisions about their life, because that really sets the wrong tone for relationships for the people who are watching the movies, right? Yeah. Romance for hyper-feminine males and hyper-masculine females. I would love to see this. I would love to see an arc where we see people like Kronk or like Louisa getting their own romantic story, if that's what they want as a character, not just because they should have a romantic thing, but because everybody deserves love. Yeah. I would love to also see competent characters who don't have to rely on fitting in order to stand out and be confident. Yeah, you can just try some new things, man. Try something new. Bloody hell. Okay. Yeah. So our scripture of the day is from 2 Corinthians 1 verse 3, which says, All praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. God is our merciful Father and the source of all comfort. Okie dokie. Now, I know that in this video I haven't spoken about LGBTQ issues. I haven't spoken about like religious stuff and about corporate people being the reason why Disney makes all of these formulaic movies and that kind of thing. Possibly that's another movie, but I do think that these people deserve representation too, because there are lots of LGBTQ plus families out there who watch these videos and are looking for characters to associate with. So if Disney actually is interested in sort of broadening the horizon and becoming more tolerant in a sense and creating and promoting that tolerance, I think that they really need to focus on putting more minorities into positions of power in film or positions of authority in film, and not making them seem as if they are flawed or making them seem as if they are dysfunctional. You know, they need to be portrayed in a healthy way, because these constructs do exist in society. And I think that this is something very important that Disney needs to pay attention to going forward. Anyway, thank you so much for watching my video. I do apologize for it being a super long rant. It went on a lot longer than I thought. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you so much. I would absolutely love it if you could like, comment, and subscribe. One like means one more day that my throat gets better. If there's no likes, nobody wants my throat to get better. Anyway, thanks so much for being here, and I hope that you have a fabulous evening, because you deserve it. Bye.